In the previous lecture, we saw how to fetch data with the effect hook using the useState hook to manage the state transition. So, in this example, we are going to see how to fetch data with the useEffect hook by implementing the useReducer hook to maintain and manage the state transition. Within this package, we are going to create a new component called useReducer DataFetch. Generate the functional component. Let's quickly import the useReducer and the useEffect. So right at the top level, useReducer, useEffect. And as well, we have to import Axios from Axios. Let's declare the initial state as property of a single object. Let me show you how to do that quickly. Const initial state equal, set it to an empty object. And right within the object, we are going to group the entire state that we are going to have in the application right within. We are going to have loading, set it to true. Just as we did in the previous lecture. The error, set it to an empty string, and the post to an empty object. So these are the transitions that we need in this application. And with this, we have been able to group the entire state within an object. And that's extremely cool. Let's quickly define the reducer function. So having done this, come here, we have to invoke the useReducer. So within the useReducer, we are going to take in the reducer and the initial state as a parameter. So this is the initial state that we have at the top over here. And for the reducer, we also have to define the reducer. I'm going to do const reducer equal, set it to arrow function. And the reducer takes in two parameters. First is the state, and then second is the action. Now we have two state transitions to be implemented. First is when the request is successful, and second is when the request fails. Let me show you quickly. Go back to the useState DataFetch. This is going to be the first state transition, and this is the second state transition. Let's see how to implement this quickly. So right within the reducer function, we are going to have a switch, and the switch expression is going to be action.type. So case 1 is going to be DataFetch success. Data underscore fetch underscore success. So if everything is fine, now we are going to return loading, just like we did in the previous lecture. The post, we are going to have the action dot payload, comma, and then the error is going to be an empty string. And as well, the second case is when the request fails. So here we are going to have case data underscore fetch underscore error. So when an error occurs, we are going to return same thing here like this. So right within the return, we are going to set loading to false. The post is going to be set to an empty object. And then the error something went wrong. And of course, we have to specify the default case, which will return the state. Let's quickly format the code for proper indentation. Having done this, come here. So for the useReducer hook, it returns a pair of value, which is the current state and the dispatch method. Const state, comma, dispatch, and then assign it like this. And now we are going to make the API call. And of course, that should be done within the effect hook. Let's quickly invoke the use effect. We just have to copy from the previous lecture. Head on to useState DataFetch, and then I'm going to copy from lines 9 to lines 21. Copy, come here, right within the function, we have to paste. Let's make the necessary changes. So we just have to replace the useState occurrences. Right within the promise block, we are going to highlight from lines 35 to 37. Wipe it off. So now, when the fetching is successful, we have to dispatch the action. Dispatch. Right within the dispatch method, we are going to take in an object. And then we have to specify the action type. And the type of the action to be dispatched when the fetch is successful is data_fetch_success. Let me show you at the top. Here is it. Highlight and then copy. Come here, paste it within the string. When we dispatch the DataFetch success, we have to specify the payload. And the payload is going to be response.data. Let me explain to you what the payload is in a jiffy. The payload is the data that your reducer will use to update the state. So we are going to grab a new data, and then that will be used to update the initial state. And of course, the initial state is just an empty object. And here is it. So right within the catch block, we have to dispatch the error action. Dispatch. Right within the dispatch method, we have to specify the type of the action. The type of this action is going to be data_fetch_error. Come here and paste. It's as simple as that. So we do not have to specify the payload over here simply because we have already specified the error message. And here is the error message. Let's quickly display the data on the browser. So we just have to copy the entire JSS of the previous example and append state to all the variable names simply because they are all part of the state object. So right within the useState DataFetch, we just have to copy the body like this. Highlight and copy. Come here, paste it like this. Let's quickly format for proper indentation. Perfect. What I'm going to do now is to append states to all the variables. State dot is loading. And here we are going to do state dot post dot body. Quickly render this in the app component and let's see what we have on the browser. useReducer DataFetch from component / all of these levels of directory that you have to target. And come here, place a comment on this. useReducer DataFetch. Save and move on to the browser. Let's see the expected outcome. Oops, something went wrong. Alright, guys. You could remember that in the previous lecture, we altered the URL. So we have to go back to JSON placeholder to copy the appropriate URL. And here is it. Copy, come here, and paste. And I think it is also good to make the correction here as well. Alright, so that you don't run into trouble in the future when you want to reference my code. Okay, over here, save, and let's see the expected result. And there are these. Beautiful. Everything is working perfectly fine as expected. Now, the difference between this example and what we did in the previous lecture is that we were able to group the related state together. Let me show you at the top. Over here like this. Okay? And also, the state transition are also grouped together. Now, the argument is this. If the useReducer and the useState hook are both used for state management, When will it be preferable to use the useReducer over the useState hook? So quickly, let's discuss that in the next lecture. This is all for now, and see you in the next lecture. Stay focused and always take care.